The Surge 2? More like surging through my dick. The Surge 2 is a third-person sci-fi action RPG Souls-like developed by Deck 13 and published by Focus Home Interactive. The Surge 2 actually came out on the same week as another Souls-like, Code Vein, and being the weeb that I am, I got that instead. Plus I wasn't too into the original, so I held off on getting it until it got cheaper. Well, after spending like 6 months in my Steam library chillin', time to actually play the thing. Graphics wise, it looks mostly the same as the Surge 1. While it still looks good, they didn't fix the jagginess of everything. Using SMAA makes it look a bit better, but it still looks jaggy, and TAA makes everything smooth, but it's blurry and has this pixelation effect. I don't know what to call it. It looks like a snail crawl all over the screen is what I'm saying. I would have turned up the resolution scale if the performance doesn't suck big ass. The game is not optimized very well. I have a 3060 Ti and the frame rate still drops occasionally, some areas worse than others. I have crashed once in my entire playthrough. It's not too bad, but it's the sort of thing that you would expect to be fixed after a bit over a year now. There are areas with specific colors tinted over the screen and they don't look too good. I don't know why, maybe it's because of the lighting, but my eyes hurt after staring at those levels for too long. They're either too dark or too washed out. It's not all bad though. The Surge 1 had a lot of environments that look too similar to each other, but in 2 there's a lot of variety. The game takes place in Jericho City and it's connected to multiple other areas. Each area has its own theme, from toxic waste dumps to a prison and park full of nature. The game has a bit of everything. I do get lost sometimes though. Each area has 1 or 2 med bays, and since they're big levels, they come with a lot of shortcuts. If I want to go back to where I came from to make more progress, I have to remember which shortcut I last discovered. It just gets more confusing the more shortcuts you discover. Overall, the graphics aren't bad. I wish they could have ironed out some stuff like the anti-aliasing and optimized the game better. There's a map, but it's not very detailed, so having a more detailed one would have helped when players get lost. A lot of mechanics are still the same as they are in the Surge 1. Combat is still fast and aggressive, dismembering limbs for armor and weapons is still satisfying, and you still increase your power level to equip heavier armor and more implants. There are some new additions. Weapon proficiency is not a thing anymore, allowing you to switch to whatever looks good to you instead of marrying a weapon for the entire playthrough. There's now a parry system where you can stun enemies by blocking and moving the mouse or right stick to the direction of wherever the attack comes from. It's hard to do, especially on a mouse, so I didn't use it as much, but it can be OP if you master it. Increasing your power level not only lets you equip heavier armor and more implants, but also gives you attribute points. There's no strength or intelligence or shit like that, but you can increase your health, stamina, or battery bar. The energy meter from the first game is replaced with battery bars. It's basically the same as the energy meter, except it's separated into sections. It still drains over time unless you equip an implant that lets you keep some. The way injectables work changed too. If you want to use an injectable to heal or something, it uses a battery bar. There's no limit to how many times you can use it now. As long as you have the battery bars, you can heal as much as you want. I really like this change because it adds even more to the already aggressive playstyle the game wants you to play. You can keep living and taking hits as long as you can keep dealing them too. You can stay hard as long as you can keep fucking. The fuck did I just say? You can create your own character this time around. There aren't a lot of options to choose from, so you won't be playing dress up, which is my favorite part of any hentai game. Unlike in the Surge 1, you can't change your clothes in the medbay anymore. It's not too important, but would have been nice to have. The bosses are a lot more fun to fight. The good ones have multiple forms, fun attack patterns, and unique ways to fight them. There are a lot more human bosses this time around, just regular dudes with more health and a lot faster. These are pretty easy and you can get used to them pretty quick. Though I gotta say, they still don't telegraph their attacks too well. I'm not sure if this is the game or just me losing my reflexes at the old age of 23, so take this with a grain of salt, but the bosses are way faster this time around. I can see and react to most attacks with no problems, but sometimes I dodge, but then right after another attack comes when my dodge hasn't even cooled down all the way yet. It's like blast processing up in this bitch. I get that that's a selling point, but chill out for a bit. Just a little. You don't have to play Sonic all the time. Play some Mario too. There are a lot more bosses this time around, but they did recycle a couple of them a few times, so there's actually only like 5 or 6 unique ones. That's more than the previous game, so it's still an improvement, but I can't help but feel they're being a little lazy. Overall, the changes to the gameplay are pretty good. They made the already fast combat even more aggressive, and it's still fun, but too fast for me at points though. Oh, and there's this shit. The story is weird and kinda confusing, but not in the way that the first Surge was, where important details are told in audio logs and on displays in the environment. So in the Surge 1, a rocket that contains Project Utopia launched into the atmosphere with this purple shit called nanites. The nanites get spread all over the world, and 95% of the population is presumably dead now, from what I know from the last game. A plane was hit with nanites. Most of the people in it get sucked except for you. You play as the survivor of that plane crash. You see these visions of a little girl talking some weird shit, and you wake up 2 months out of a coma inside a prison. Now that medbay song makes sense, but it's not in the game at all. At least not until way later. Anyway, shit's fucked, or should I say shit's still fucked. Now it's up to you to fix this mess and find out who this girl is and how you two are connected. There's also this cult called Children of the Spark that worships electricity and thinks of nanites as the next step in humanity, and they're the main antagonists of the game. I think the story is okay. It keeps itself interesting with these visions of the girl and keeps me curious enough to see it through. In the intro, the girl, Athena, talks about machines and are they pure even if they're created by humans, but the game doesn't really go deep into that topic. I think the machines she's referring to are the nanites, I don't know what else, which are basically nanomachines that became sentient. Other than a few instances, the nano-infected creatures and people are really hostile and will kill you on sight. We were supposed to question their morality throughout the game. Okay, maybe they're talking about how machines ruined Earth but can also restore it, like how you're fighting people using machines for their own gain with your own shit. Either way, it's surface level stuff. You're gonna be fucking shit up, cutting off limbs to build your huge wardrobe anyway. The story is not important here. Maybe I should have listened to more audio logs, but from the ones I have listened, they don't go too deep into that either. The Surge 2 is a good sequel, with a lot of complaints from the first game fixed and improved on, but not without taking some steps back. The combat is still great with some changes that made it even more aggressive. The bosses are more fun to fight with multiple forms and unique ways of approaching them, though they did recycle a few fights. The environment is more varied this time, but gets confusing with the large amount of shortcuts you can find. The story is easier to follow with only extras found in audio logs, though it's not as deep as it wants to be. The graphics, while it still looks good, has some weird art direction and technical issues. I can easily say that, despite the flaws, I still had fun with the Surge 2. Way more fun than the first game. I don't think the negatives take away much of the experience. Not enough to make me want to quit anyway. Get it on a sale if this looks like your type of shit. Alright, that's the review. Next time will be shorter again, so smash the like button and subscribe, or I'll come over to your place and stare at you. Okay, bye.